But certainly Scotland Yard facing a High Court challenge from one of its own advisers on race relations over its decision to deny support to a Black Lives Matter march on Sunday. Organisers of the Million People March have been told the event is illegal because of COVID-19 restrictions, but leaders have instructed lawyers to seek a judicial review of the decision, claiming that an exemption applies. Meanwhile, the Met Police have also placed thousands of officers on standby after Extinction Rebellion announced plans for a long weekend of disobedience in support of Black Lives Matter. The legal action, by the way, against the Met Police is being brought by Ken Hines, who advises the force on stop and search and race relations. He joins me now. Ken, afternoon to you, sir. So just talk us through this. The Million People March was set to go ahead on Sunday. The website's been up for a while. Everything was in place, and then Scotland Yard say it contravenes COVID restrictions. Is that about right? Can you hear us, Ken? We can see you, Ken. We can't.
Yes, sorry. Now you can hear me.
That's we can hear you loud and clear, fella. Yeah, fire away.
That is absolutely on point. But I can say to you, one of the main principles for the march is to give the disadvantaged minorities and underdogs of society a voice. That's what they're all about.
Okay. I mean, underdogs exist in all societies at all times and will forevermore, don't they?
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important that they have a platform so that their voices can be heard collectively.
But we've never lived in an era, Ken, I would suggest, where we've been more understanding and even knowledgeable of the underdog, whether that's a black kid, a white kid, whoever it happens to be. You know, we talk about this a lot. It's a big old narrative out there, isn't it? Do we need 1 million people on a march?
Well, just to say simply this: it's okay talking from your perspective. That's, I would say, like white privilege, because if you haven't lived in the shoes of an underdog or a minority, then really I don't think you can actually feel the hurt and the pain and the lack of confidence that has on us as a people.
Not everybody has that, of course. You know, you can talk for yourself, but you know, and those around you. But you know, I speak to lots of black voices who don't recognise this.
Well, I can say quite simply, it's like victims of domestic abuse who keeps going back to the abuser because they don't know any different. And I will put that to some of our people are emotionally damaged.
I mean, you're talking like we're in Mississippi in 1970, Ken. Come on, you're bigger than that, mate.
Listen. I'm talking about. I'm not referring us or aligning us to America. I'm aligning us to what happened in the UK. Just remember, don't forget, we've came out the sus law, right? And I mean now call it stop and search, which is it's coming out from racist law, and it's not surprising that we as a black race are 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched as our white counterpart, but we're no greater to commit crime in that regard. So when you talk about Mississippi and all those, I can tell you about what the Mississippi looked like here back in the 70s.
Yeah, and as a white kid, I can remember that as well, and I've talked about it often, Ken, and thank the Lord that those days are behind us. But you know, it kind of, I'm sensing this, and it's not a white privilege thing, by the way, but I'm just kind of sensing that there is just a kind of almost a synthetic anger here. You know, race relations, the Equalities Act, all of these things, most of the things that I hear people talking about on Black Lives Matter process are already either in law or are already illegal. So what's the point? It can't just be about stop and search.
Let me ask you a question. We've had the what's his name, Scarman report. We had the Macpherson report.
Yeah.
We had the David Lammy report. We had the Windrush report, and they all allude to institutionalized racism.
Well, some might allude to it. I mean,
and I tell you something.
Go on.
All these made recommendation about fixing the problem, but yet we're still here in 2020 at the same juncture. And my thing is simply this: inquiries doesn't work. Commissions doesn't work.
So what do you want? I mean, what do you really want out of this? Because I got a feeling we're going to talk in 20 years' time and you'll still be banging on about this.
Personally, what I want to make us a protected people, I want people to sign up to our race offenders register. That makes it an offence. If you commit offence of racism, you go on to the race offenders register. So it makes it much harder for
Yeah.
people then to get jobs that's impacting on other minorities. That's simply what we're looking for.
Can I put you on it though, Ken? If I think you're calling racism when there isn't one, could we go down that route as well? Because I think to suggest somebody or something is racist when it isn't is up there as well with a pretty heinous, line of thought. Would that make sense too?
Absolutely.
I mean, you mentioned white privilege, which is a kind of race baiting way of a sort of catch-all phrase that I've heard you throw out before. I know why you do it, and I don't know if you're aware of how offensive some people find that.
Well, maybe, as I said, some people will call it unconscious bias. But when you act on it,
you'll never solve that. You'll never solve it, mate. You'll never solve it. If I'm in a petrol station, I was in a petrol station the other day, and something happened, and I was in a queue, and I was ignored. I was in this queue, and I thought, is this fella going to talk to me? Who's meant to be serving me? I was ignored. If that had happened to you, you could suggest that was because of the colour of your skin. I'm only giving this as an example. I would never be able to do that. How will you ever know whether microaggressions and the kind of things that you champion, and I understand the broader spirit of what you do, but things like that will never go away. There'll never be a time when you achieve what you're looking for.
What I look at the people who are making all the decision on my behalf, and when I don't see people of my colour as being part of that the decision making team, I have issues about how they come to that.
Our two of our most senior politicians, Ken, are non-white people. We've got a Home Secretary with a surname Patel. As I said yesterday, it used to be the go-to name for bad comedians in the 70s to take the mick.
And let me say this, just say this much. Even though that you might have people from BAME community, doesn't mean that these people have got the fortitude to do what needs to be done. And the name that you're giving out there, they're too in kind. I'm seeing black men stepping up and talking about Donald Trump as if he's a savior of everything. And I really question what their motives are.
I don't know many white people that stand up and say that. But the last time I looked, his predecessor was a black man for 8 years in the White House, the most powerful man in the world. The next vice president is likely to be a black woman.
Well, I really won't want to put any slant on that, because until it happens, we didn't think that he would have been there the first time, but he did. And I'm just saying simply this. All I'm looking for is to be able not to have to tell my children to beware of the police when they're going out on any maneuvers, or going to work or going out socializing, whatever. And if they do, this is how they need to conduct themselves. I shouldn't be having that with my children. I should be able to say, guys, just go out there and just be careful and how you project yourself and what you do in that environment. But yet again, 4 generations down the line are still having the same conversation with our children. And I want that to stop.
In terms of this weekend, so there is an appeal. Well, just tell us the status at the moment, if you could, Ken, of this appeal against Scotland Yard suggesting that the Million People March is illegal.
Well, we've sent them a letter of this notice before going to court. We've got a response back from them, which is hopeful, in the sense that we may be able to have some sort of dialogue, create a dialogue that can come to some sort of acceptable conclusion. Because listen, Ian, the last thing we want to do is have any sort of major disruption. XR, yes, they're our cousin. And they are supporting us, but they're not supporting us to cause mayhem on the streets, because it's our peaceful demonstration. We're here engaging the police, and in fact, we even want our representatives to sit with the police to be part of their decision-making team when they come to do things.
But of course, there's COVID-19 is it's still out there, coronavirus, Ken, and clearly that was the reason that was cited.
And it's on there in the beaches. It's on there in the pubs. It's out there in the social, in the spots, in the parks and stuff. And we see thousands of people in these places.
Yeah, we do. And there's been lots of Black Lives Matter protests up till now, of course, and they've been allowed to go ahead.
And just yesterday, we saw outside Buckingham Palace over 1,000 people that were out there demonstrating. But yet they had the consent of the police to do all this. And I'm saying the Belarus that was there on Sunday, they had 1,000 people out there that were demonstrating and facilitated by the police. So why is our demonstration being treated under special
I mean,
circumstances. Don't get me wrong.
in fairness, Ken, I mean, there's been lots of Black Lives Matter protests. It's only this one, isn't it, that's come into question. They've happened all over the country. We went for a few weekends where there was probably a couple of dozen across the UK.
So why am I being singled out for special treatment? Is it because I'm an advisor of the police, and so they think they can easily tag me? What is it? Why am I being different to all the others that's gone beforehand? All I'm saying, we've got a serious problem because, as I said, we want to highlight our race offenders register because that's changing laws so that we become protected people, so that we can then feel part of society. Because at the moment, we've got big issues with our children who don't feel part of society.
I would put it to you, Ken, there's never been a point when, regardless of what colour somebody is, sexuality, gender, religion, where people have immersed and been part of a wider society than the era we're living in now. Is that true or false?
Look, there's always room for improvement,
Yeah.
and we should not sit on our laurels to thinking
I get
we've done the very
that.
best. So I'm saying to you, I'm always pushing for change.
Okay.
I'm always again. I would like to see yes, you've got a BAME face up there, but I'd like to see a black face, a part of the decision-making, Boris Johnson decision-making team, and that will give me greater hope that it's going to be fairer and equality for a wider body of people.
The question we're just asking, Ken, this afternoon, just very quickly, if you wouldn't mind, sir, is has protest lost its purpose? What do you say to that?
Not at all. I'm seeing so many young, beautiful people of all different races coming out and protesting peacefully. So it gives me hope for the future. I'm an elder, and I'm so privileged to walk around those youngsters and keeping them safe. So no, it gives us stronger emotional resilience that will build on our intelligence and bring about real change.
I'll tell you what, whatever our differences, Ken, you're still looking pretty darn good for an elder. I have to say that, sir. Thank you for being with us on the programme. Ken Hinds, who's bringing that legal action against the Met Police, advises the force on stop and search and race relations. You heard what he said. Look, am I in a position because of my own skin colour where I can't get my head around his wider points? I'm not disputing everything, by the way, but I think there's, an element in there that I would stand by. Ken could come back in 20, 30 years' time. I think you could carry on making these arguments. Where's the end game? What is the point?